Hi, welcome back. This is an original story about a family crossing the line and a mom taking a stand. Let's begin.
One Christmas, I had been working a very long 12-hour shift at the hospital where I take care of kids. I was so tired that I could barely stay awake. I kept thinking about coming home to see my own daughter, Alice, sitting at the table with her dessert and the fun of opening presents. I imagined the happy sounds of wrapping paper, laughter, and family chaos that I could leave behind when my shift ended. When I finally left the hospital, the parking lot was icy and the snow had started falling again. I thought about Alice and how nice it would be to see her safe at home. But when I got to my parents' house, something felt wrong. The house was quiet. The lights were on, but there were no sounds of Christmas cheer. I walked in expecting hugs, laughter, and the smell of food. Instead, everything looked like a set from a play. The table was cleared, glasses were half full, and my mom was stacking plates like she was closing a restaurant. My sister Vanessa was leaning against the counter, looking at her phone. "Where's Alice?" I asked. They looked at each other in a way that made my stomach drop. "Oh," Vanessa said. "She went home." I blinked. "Home?" My mom didn't even look at me. "We all decided she should leave," she said. "She needed a lesson." For a moment I thought I must have misheard. Then it hit me. They had sent my 7-year-old daughter out into the night, alone. My heart felt heavy, like it was floating away. I got in the car and drove fast, hoping maybe they were exaggerating, maybe someone walked her back, maybe she was already inside asleep on the couch. But when I turned the corner, the building was dark. And there she was. Alice was standing by the door, small and still, with her breath showing in the cold night air. When she saw me, she didn't run. She just whispered, "You were at work." I got out of the car quickly. "You're safe now," I said, though I didn't know if I was trying to convince her or myself. Inside, I wrapped her in a warm blanket. Her fingers were pink and cold. "Tell me what happened," I asked gently. She whispered in a tiny voice, "Aunt Vanessa said I was bad. Everyone was mad. They told me to go home." "Why?" I listened carefully as she explained. She had refused to let a boy named Ethan play with her new toy because she knew he would break it. They told her she wasn't part of the family if she didn't share. She cried and they told her to leave. That was enough for them to send her outside. I brushed her hair aside and saw a faint mark on her cheek. "You did nothing wrong," I said. She nodded but didn't really believe me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" I asked. "For ruining Christmas," she said. That broke my heart. "You didn't ruin anything," I told her. "They did." Alice fell asleep within minutes, still holding the edge of the blanket tightly, as if letting go would make it disappear. I stayed quietly beside her, listening to the hum of the heater. I remembered every word from that house replaying in my mind, until the words lost all meaning. Then I picked up my phone and called Vanessa. She answered right away, her voice calm. "Hey, you found her. What exactly happened tonight?" I stayed silent and finally she said, "She was out of control. I disciplined her. She'll survive. Don't start, Carolyn. You spoil that kid. She was ruining dinner." "Disciplined?" I asked softly. "You're making that face," Vanessa said. "The judgy one." I ended the call. Later I checked on Alice again. She was warm now, cheeks soft, breathing steadily. The faint shadow on her face caught the lamplight, and something inside me went completely still. They had called it discipline. They had called it love. Whatever it was, it ended tonight. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. But while they slept, I started thinking about what I needed to do to keep Alice safe. People don't suddenly turn cruel. I should have known. I grew up in a house like that. My mom would call it strict whenever someone cried at the dinner table. She had a way of making pain sound like something good. If we dropped something, it was strict. If we forgot something, it was strict. If we breathed wrong, it was strict. My dad never said much. He'd sit in his chair reading about baseball or pretending to. Mom handled the teaching. She said a good parent makes their children respect them. In our house, fear often looked like respect. When I was little, my sister Vanessa learned how to make mom happy by smiling and saying "yes, ma'am" at the right time. That left me to take most of the punishment. I remember a hairbrush flying across the room once. It was technically Vanessa's fault, but I got punished because I provoked her. I tried to argue once, but it didn't help. I stopped arguing and spent the rest of my childhood looking for ways out. Books were the first escape. Science was the second. I liked science because cause and effect made sense. Other kids wanted to be singers or astronauts. I wanted to be a doctor, specifically a pediatrician, because I liked helping kids. I used to patch up dolls and lecture invisible patients about washing their hands. The first time I told my family I wanted to be a doctor, they laughed. My dad choked on his coffee. Mom said, "Sweetheart, you'd faint at the sight of blood." Vanessa said, "You're not exactly med school material, Carolyn." When I was 12, I was really mad at my family. So I decided to do what kids sometimes do when they're upset. I worked super hard at school. Every time I got an A, it made it harder for them to yell at me. They never said, "I'm proud of you." But Mom started saying things like, "Well, studying keeps her out of trouble." I thought that was better than before. When I got into medical school, Dad said, "Let's see if you can finish it." When I graduated, he said, "You missed your sister's baby shower." No matter what I did, it never made things calm. It was just quieter criticism. I got married when I was young. Maybe I thought not being yelled at was love. But it didn't last. My husband left when Alice, my daughter, was 5. He said he couldn't handle all the stress. I was now a single mom and a full-time doctor. That was a tough job, but I was good at keeping everything together. Mom said, "Maybe if you weren't so opinionated, he would have stayed." My friend Vanessa said, "Well, at least you'll have more time to be patient." People don't change. They just get better at saying hurtful things. I still invited family over for holidays and birthdays. I told myself family is family, and I wanted Alice to know hers. When I started making more money, I spent a lot to help. Vanessa's kids, Ethan and Ka, did many expensive activities. He played at a private soccer school. She took ballet from a retired ballerina who charged a lot. Vanessa couldn't afford it, so I paid every month quietly. I didn't expect thanks. Then there was Mom. Her doctor said she needed special treatments for her joints. But really, it was a fancy vacation with palm trees, mineral water, and people named Sven. I told myself she deserved it. She told everyone I insisted. Sometimes I thought about how many hours I worked just to pay for them. Then I felt silly and stopped thinking that way. That's what growing up in my family taught me. Giving people things feels like paying rent for existing. By the time Alice was 7, Vanessa's kids were at almost every expensive class I paid for. But I told myself it was fine. Kept them nice to Alice. They invited her over, sent pictures of her baking with Ka, playing with Ethan, smiling like she belonged. I looked at those photos between patients and thought, maybe it's different now. Spoiler, it wasn't. I wanted Alice to have the family I never had. A grandma who clapped for her. An aunt who said she was sweet. Cousins who treated her kindly. But I didn't see that I was sending her into the same storm, just with prettier decorations. One morning, the house smelled like coffee and determination. Alice sat at the table in her pajamas, tracing circles on her mug. She had a bruise on her cheek, but she was quiet and careful. Kids learn to be quiet fast when the world is loud. "Hey," I said, pouring another cup of coffee. "Do you know what we're going to do today?" She shook her head. "We're going to talk to someone about what happened." Her eyes got wide. "Like who?" she asked. "The police," I said. She froze. "Am I in trouble?" "No, honey. You didn't do anything wrong. We're doing this because people should answer for what they do." I tried to sound calm, like talking about the dentist, not trauma. She gave a tiny laugh. That was our first win of the day. The police station was almost empty. The lights buzzed. The air smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. A young officer looked up. "Can I help you?" I introduced myself and explained what happened. I stayed calm and factual, like I was presenting a case. I didn't want pity. I wanted a record. He asked Alice questions gently. Where it happened. Who was there? What was said? She answered quietly but clearly. I sat next to her and let her think. When it was done, he said they'd make a report and maybe follow up. I thanked him, even though maybe meant maybe never. But the point was Alice's face when we left. She stood taller. Her breathing was steady. "You weren't mad at me at all." "Why would I be mad?" she said. "Because I made you go there," I said. "You didn't make me. I wanted to. You deserve to know that when someone hurts you, there's a way to say it out loud." He thought about it. "So they're in trouble now?" "Eventually," I said. "Trouble has a slow engine, but it always comes." That night, after she went to bed, I opened my bank app. The numbers blinked. Transfers, payments, donations disguised as family loyalty. I hovered over Vanessa's soccer academy payment. Click. Cancel. Cora's ballet school. Cancel. Mom's wellness vacation. Cancel. Each click felt like I could breathe for the first time. The money finally belonged to me. It wasn't revenge. It was accounting. Emotional and financial. 2 days later, Vanessa called. I almost didn't pick up. Hey, she said, trying to sound calm. The payment for Ethan's program didn't go through. Can you check your bank? I smiled. No need, I said. You what? You can't just do that. They'll drop him from the team. Then pay it yourself. Vanessa, I'm mad at you, I said. But that's not why I stopped paying. I finally learned not to give my stuff to people who hit my kid. She snapped. You're teaching Alice to be selfish. Maybe, I said. Or maybe I'm teaching her that no means no. Silence. Then she hung up. That was progress part 2. The next day it was Mom. She didn't waste time. What is this nonsense about you canceling payments? Do you know how humiliating this is? It's your family. What about my treatments? She asked. I leaned back. Mom, that's not a treatment. It's a vacation. If you want a tan, pay for it yourself. She hissed. How dare you talk to me like that after everything I've done for you? You mean raising me? I said. She started breathing fast and angry. Then she said, ungrateful child. You'll regret this. I didn't regret it. By evening, my phone looked like a crime scene. 27 missed calls. 14 voicemails. All from family. I ignored them all. Alice peeked in holding a drawing. 2 stick figures smiling. Can I put this on the fridge? She asked. Of course. Mom, are you in trouble for going to the police? She asked. No, I think they are, I said. She smiled, small but real, and taped the drawing up. The apartment felt lighter, like someone had turned off a loud noise I didn't notice before. I used to think silence meant rejection. Now it sounded a lot like peace. For a long time I paid money just to have quiet. I thought quiet cost something, but I learned it was free. The quiet came first. No phone calls, no messages, no people making me feel guilty. For the first time in years, I woke up and didn't owe anyone anything. I thought everything was over. I was wrong. The hardest part hadn't come yet. One week Alice and I had pancakes for dinner just because we could. I let her pour syrup all over them, and I watched her laugh as the sticky sweetness ran everywhere. Hayes, I thought, for the first time in years, every dollar I earn goes to us. The quiet felt like freedom. Until it didn't. 3 days later, there was an envelope in my mailbox. Big, official, and beige. The kind that usually means bad news. From the State Medical Board. I carried it upstairs as if it were ticking like a time bomb. Inside was a complaint. Words I didn't say were used against me. They called me abusive, unstable, and said I was unfit to work with children. At the bottom, the signatures were from my mother, Vanessa. I just stared for a moment. Then I laughed. A quiet, sharp laugh that almost sounded like crying, but not quite. They weren't just coming after me. They were trying to touch the one thing I'd built that was mine. They'd spent my childhood telling me I'd never be a doctor. Now they were trying to make it happen. I wish I could say I stayed calm. Instead, I sat on the couch with the letter in my lap and counted my heartbeats until they stopped feeling like tiny explosions. Alice came in holding her sketchbook. Mom, why do you look weird? She asked. Because your grandmother and your aunt just said I'm dangerous around kids, I said. Her eyes got big. But, you're a children's doctor. Exactly, I said. She frowned, thinking really hard, like she always does when she's trying to figure out if something is fair. Are they going to win? I smiled at her. No. But they're going to try. That night I called my lawyer, Michael Adler. He was calm, maybe too calm. These things happen, he said. The board will check everything. We respond with proof. Proof? I asked. Anything that shows they're lying, he said. Do you have that police report from Christmas? Oh yes, I said. I have a whole stack. Police reports, bank statements, text messages, everything. He laughed. Then we're fine. It's just a slow process. Slow. That was the word I hated most. For the next few days I lived in paperwork. I copied the police report from Christmas, added proof of every payment I'd ever made to them, highlighted the day I stopped giving money, and pulled screenshots of messages. Vanessa had thanked me for tuition money. Mom had sent photos of fancy resorts with notes saying, your treatments are working. Then I wrote my statement. I said the accusations came from family members I had reported for hurting my child and who no longer received money from me. I read it twice. Clear, simple, impossible to misunderstand. Exactly what they hated about me. The investigation took a long time. Emails from the board, phone calls from Michael. Every message started with, "unfortunately," and ended with, "please be patient." Meanwhile, my family started telling lies. Vanessa posted on Facebook about false accusations breaking up families. Mom left strange comments about ungrateful daughters. Relatives I hadn't spoken to since high school suddenly wanted my side of the story. Even at work, whispers followed me down the hallway. Someone quietly asked if I was okay. I smiled. "Never better," I said. HR called once, only to say they had seen the posts but trusted my record and knew the board would handle it. I left shaking anyway. Anger makes your body tremble without warning. That night I wrote one post online. Simple. No yelling, no drama. I said, "A complaint has been filed against me by 2 relatives who were recently part of a police report and no longer receive financial help from me. The medical board is reviewing it. I am confident it will be handled correctly." Then I logged off. Within hours, messages came. From old colleagues, parents of my patients, even neighbors. "We know who you are." They're lying. For the first time, the quiet wasn't mine alone. Others spoke for me. Weeks went by. One morning, Michael called while I was packing Alice's lunch. "They've made a decision," he said. I stopped mid-cut. He cleared his throat the way lawyers do. "Good news. Case dismissed. Not enough evidence. The board won't continue." I exhaled for the first time in a month. That's it. They'll send a warning just to make it official. They won't risk another complaint. I hung up, knife in one hand, apple in the other. Then I laughed. Really laughed. Loud enough for Alice to peek around the corner. "What's funny?" she asked. "Justice," I said. "It finally showed up." She grinned, proud like she'd helped. 6 months later, justice arrived fully. The police finished checking. Vanessa was guilty of hurting a child and not keeping them safe. She had to do 180 hours of community service, pay a $2,500 fine, and go to anger management classes. My mother was guilty of neglecting and endangering a child. She had to do 120 hours of community service and pay $1,000. The judge said, "You're lucky the child is okay." The news didn't use their names, but everyone knew. I stayed no contact. But news travels fast. Someone sent me a picture of Vanessa at the community center, wearing a fluorescent vest that said, "Volunteer." She looked sour. Her friends ignored her. Even her kids heard the whispers at school. My mother's downfall was quieter but sharp. Her wellness retreat stopped. No more spa weeks. Her friends got busy. Without my money, she and Dad thought about selling the house. Broke. I won't lie, it was satisfying. Not revenge. Just fairness. Alice's world got bigger. She laughed more, slept better, and learned that when someone crosses a line, we don't pretend it's okay. We still don't talk to them. In peace. It's loud when you've never had it before.